When sadness arrives, the world urges you to silence it, distract yourself from it, or prove that you are stronger than it. But the heart was never healed by escape. It is healed by being understood. Sadness is not a crack in your faith, nor a failure of your strength. It appears when the heart has carried more than surface resilience can sustain. It is the moment when endurance gives way to truth. Tonight, you are not being asked to push sadness away or rise above it. You are being invited to sit with it, to listen without fear, because every sadness carries a hidden message, one meant to return the heart to its rightful balance, not to break it. Sadness does not arrive randomly, and it does not choose its place without reason. It does not settle in careless hearts that skim the surface of life without attachment or responsibility. It visits hearts that have loved deeply, hoped quietly, trusted sincerely, and endured more than they ever spoke about. A heart that has never cared deeply cannot ache deeply. Sadness is the mark of a heart that has been present, invested, and honest with life. Many people misunderstand sadness because they associate it with weakness or failure. They believe that a strong heart should remain unaffected, calm at all times, and untouched by pain. But this idea misunderstands strength itself. Strength is not the absence of feeling. Strength is the capacity to feel without becoming destroyed by what is felt. Sadness appears not when the heart is weak, but when it has been strong for a long time without rest. A sincere heart gives more than it takes. It listens even when tired, it remains patient when confused, and it holds space for others while setting its own needs aside. This sincerity is quiet. It does not announce itself. Over time, however, sincerity stretches the heart. Like any vessel that carries weight, the heart eventually reaches a point where it needs relief. Sadness is often the signal that this point has been reached. When sadness appears, it does not mean the heart has failed. It means the heart has been honest for longer than it could sustain without renewal. It reveals how much has been carried beneath the surface. Conversations that required restraint, disappointments that were swallowed silently, hopes that were adjusted rather than abandoned. All of this accumulates gently until the heart asks to be acknowledged. This is why sadness often surprises people. They say, "I don't know why I feel this way," because the heart did not complain loudly while it was carrying the load. It continued functioning, supporting, believing, and enduring. Sadness is not sudden, it is delayed recognition. It is the moment the heart finally says, "I need rest." Self-blame often follows sadness. The heart turns against itself and asks what it did wrong, what it failed to protect, or where it weakened. This reaction adds a second burden to an already tired heart. Recognizing that sadness visits sincere hearts prevents this self-blame. It reframes sadness as evidence of depth rather than deficiency. A heart that has never been sincere may feel disappointment, frustration, or boredom, but it rarely feels true sadness. Sadness requires attachment, meaning, and vulnerability. Only a heart that has opened itself can feel this ache. In this way, sadness is not a sign of emptiness. It is a sign that something mattered deeply. Sincere hearts often delay their own needs. They believe they can handle more, wait longer, or endure quietly for the sake of harmony, duty, or faith. This endurance is admirable, but it is not limitless. The heart, like the body, requires periods of release. When release is postponed too long, sadness emerges as a natural response. Sadness also appears when sincerity meets reality, when expectations shaped by honesty encounter outcomes shaped by complexity. The heart feels the gap. This gap is painful not because the heart was naive, but because it was genuine. Genuine effort does not guarantee ease. It guarantees meaning, and meaning sometimes comes with sorrow. Understanding this transforms how sadness is experienced. Instead of seeing it as an enemy, the heart can recognize it as a messenger. A messenger saying, "You have been giving without replenishment," or "You have been strong without being gentle with yourself," or "You have been sincere beyond what this moment could support." This recognition softens sadness. It removes its sharp edge. Sadness no longer feels like a verdict. It feels like information. Information invites care rather than punishment. When the heart receives sadness this way, tension eases. The body relaxes slightly. The breath deepens. The heart no longer needs to defend itself against its own feelings. Sincere hearts are often misunderstood, even by themselves. They believe they should be able to endure more because they always have. But endurance without renewal eventually turns into fatigue. Fatigue without understanding turns into sadness. This sequence is not a failure of character. It is a signal for balance. Sadness also reveals how deeply the heart has been involved in life. A shallow heart remains untouched. A sincere heart risks disappointment because it risks connection. This risk is not foolish, it is human. Sadness is the cost of being real in a world that is not always gentle. When sadness appears, the heart is asking for acknowledgement, not correction. It does not need to be told to be grateful, patient, or stronger. It needs to be recognized for what it has already been. Recognition restores dignity. Dignity restores calm. This lesson invites you to stop asking why sadness has come as if it were a mistake. Instead, ask what the sadness reveals about your sincerity, your endurance, and your capacity to care. This question does not deepen pain. It organizes it. Organized pain is lighter than confused pain. A sincere heart does not break easily, but it does tire. Sadness is the moment when tiredness becomes visible. Visibility allows healing to begin. What remains hidden cannot be tended to. Sadness brings what was hidden into awareness gently, without accusation. When you understand that sadness visits sincere hearts, you stop turning against yourself. You stop believing that something is wrong with you. You begin to see sadness as part of a larger rhythm, giving, carrying, tiring, and returning to balance. This understanding alone reduces the weight of sadness. The heart no longer feels isolated in its pain, it feels recognized. Recognition is often the first step toward healing. You do not need to rush sadness away once you understand it. You allow it to exist long enough to deliver its message. When the message is received, sadness naturally softens. It does not cling when it is understood. Let this lesson settle gently. You do not need to act on it immediately. Even allowing the idea that your sadness comes from sincerity rather than failure changes the inner atmosphere. The heart understands before the mind agrees. Many people quietly fear that sadness means something has gone wrong inside them. They worry that if faith was strong enough, sadness would not appear, that belief should shield the heart from heaviness altogether. This idea creates a hidden conflict. The heart feels pain, but the mind tells it that pain should not exist. This conflict does not remove sadness, it multiplies it by adding guilt. Sadness is not distance from truth, it is often closeness to it. When the heart senses reality more clearly than comfort allows, sadness emerges. Faith does not anesthetize the heart, it sharpens perception. A heart that believes deeply does not float above human experience, it enters it with awareness. Awareness makes joy brighter, but it also makes loss, disappointment, and longing more vivid. The belief that faith eliminates sadness misunderstands faith itself. Faith is not the absence of feeling, it is the presence of meaning. Meaning allows the heart to endure what it feels without becoming lost inside it. When sadness appears, faith gives it context rather than erasing it. Without context, sadness feels like chaos. With context, it becomes intelligible. Guilt is what truly exhausts the heart. Guilt whispers that sadness is a failure, a sign of weakness, or a spiritual flaw. This whisper forces the heart to hide its pain, to smile while hurting, to suppress what needs expression. Suppression creates tension. Tension prevents rest. The heart becomes heavy not only from sadness, but from pretending it should not exist. Sensitivity is often mistaken for fragility. In reality, sensitivity is a form of strength. It means the heart is open enough to register truth. A numb heart feels little pain, but it also feels little depth. A sensitive heart feels more because it is alive to meaning. Sadness is the cost of this aliveness. When the heart senses the gap between what is and what could be, sadness appears. This gap is not evidence of weak belief. It is evidence of awareness. Awareness sees impermanence, limitation, and human vulnerability clearly. Faith does not deny these realities. It allows the heart to face them without despair. Faith gives sadness direction. Without faith, sadness collapses inward and becomes hopelessness. With faith, sadness remains painful but not empty. It becomes a passage rather than a dead end. The heart learns that pain can exist without canceling trust. Many hearts confuse peace with numbness. They believe that calm means not feeling anything deeply. True peace, however, is not numbness. It is steadiness within feeling. A faithful heart can feel sadness and still remain anchored. This anchoring prevents sadness from becoming overwhelming. When you stop judging sadness as a spiritual flaw, the heart relaxes. Relaxation does not remove sadness immediately, but it changes how sadness is carried. The weight becomes manageable. The heart no longer fights itself. Inner conflict dissolves and energy is conserved. Sadness also teaches humility. It reminds the heart that belief does not grant control over outcomes. Control is not the goal of faith. Trust is. Trust allows the heart to accept that pain may visit without implying abandonment. This acceptance stabilizes the inner world. The heart often becomes sad when it recognizes the limits of effort. It realizes that sincerity does not guarantee ease, that goodness does not always prevent loss, and that patience does not always produce visible reward. These realizations can feel heavy. Faith does not erase them, it holds them. Holding is different from fixing. Faith does not rush to correct sadness, it provides space for it. In this space, sadness begins to soften on its own. What is held gently does not harden. A heart that believes deeply often feels sadness more acutely because it expects meaning. When meaning feels delayed or hidden, sadness arises. This sadness is not disbelief, it is longing. Longing is not distance, it is orientation. The heart longs because it knows something greater exists. When sadness is accepted as part of faith rather than a contradiction of it, the heart regains dignity. Dignity restores balance. Balance allows rest. Rest allows healing. Faith also protects the heart from turning sadness into self-rejection. Without faith, sadness often becomes an identity. The heart believes it is sad rather than feels sad. Faith introduces separation. It reminds the heart that sadness is a state, not a definition. This separation is crucial. It prevents sadness from consuming the whole inner landscape. The heart can say, "This is present," without saying, "This is everything." Perspective returns. Perspective lightens the load. Sadness does not need to be explained away to be meaningful. It does not need justification. It needs acknowledgement. Faith provides a language of acknowledgement without accusation. It allows the heart to say, "This hurts," without concluding, "Something is wrong with me." When sadness is seen as sensitivity rather than failure, the heart stops defending itself. Defense consumes energy. Energy conserved through acceptance becomes available for rest. Rest is not avoidance, it is preparation for renewal. A faithful heart learns that sadness and trust can coexist. This coexistence is not a weakness, it is maturity. Immature faith demands comfort at all times. Mature faith allows discomfort without losing direction. Sadness often marks moments of transition. The heart sheds old understandings and has not yet fully formed new ones. This in-between state feels uncertain. Faith steadies the heart during this uncertainty without forcing conclusions. When the heart stops equating sadness with spiritual absence, it becomes more honest. Honesty reduces tension. Reduced tension allows sadness to move rather than stagnate. Movement leads to release. Let this understanding settle gently. You do not need to convince yourself of it fully. Even allowing the possibility that sadness does not contradict faith eases the heart. The heart feels less alone with its pain. Sadness does not disqualify you. It does not cancel sincerity. It does not undo belief. It simply reveals that the heart is awake to life as it truly is. Sadness becomes most painful not when it arrives, but when it is pushed away. The heart often believes that resisting sadness will make it disappear, that strength means moving past it quickly, or that ignoring it will prevent it from growing. In reality, resistance does the opposite. What is resisted tightens. What is denied gathers weight. Sadness that is not allowed space begins to press harder on the heart. When sadness is resisted, the heart receives an unspoken message. Your pain is not acceptable. This message creates inner conflict. One part of the heart feels sadness, while another part tries to suppress it. This division drains energy. Instead of sadness moving naturally through the heart, it becomes trapped, circling the same space repeatedly. Resistance often appears in subtle forms. It may look like distraction, overworking, forced positivity, or constant self-correction. The heart tries to convince itself that everything is fine, even when it is not. This effort requires continuous tension. Tension keeps the nervous system alert. Alertness prevents rest. The heart remains exhausted not because sadness is present, but because it is being fought. When sadness is pushed away, it sharpens. It becomes more pointed, more insistent. The heart begins to feel overwhelmed, not by sadness itself, but by the effort required to keep it contained. Over time, this effort feels heavier than the sadness ever was on its own. Resisted sadness also becomes more confusing. The heart no longer understands what it is feeling. Pain blends with frustration, guilt, and fatigue. What began as a clear emotional signal becomes tangled. Tangled pain feels larger and more threatening. The heart starts to believe it is losing control. Acceptance changes the shape of sadness. When sadness is allowed to exist without argument, it softens. This does not mean the pain disappears immediately. It means the sharp edges smooth. The heart no longer braces itself. Bracing intensifies pain. Softness allows movement. Allowing sadness does not mean surrendering to despair. It means ending the internal battle. The heart stops spending energy on suppression and begins using that energy to process what is present. Processing is quieter than resistance. It unfolds gradually, without force. When sadness is accepted, it often becomes more fluid. It rises and falls rather than remaining fixed. The heart learns that sadness is not static. It moves when it is given space. Resistance freezes it in place. Many fear that allowing sadness will make it permanent. This fear is understandable, but misplaced. Emotions persist when they are trapped. They pass when they are felt fully. Allowance creates completion. Resistance creates repetition. Acceptance also restores self-compassion. When the heart stops judging itself for feeling sad, kindness enters. Kindness reduces inner tension. Reduced tension allows sadness to complete its cycle. What completes does not linger. Resisted sadness often seeks expression in other ways. It may surface as irritability, numbness, exhaustion, or physical discomfort. The heart finds a way to release pressure, even if indirectly. When sadness is allowed directly, these secondary symptoms often ease. Allowing sadness requires patience. The heart may still feel uncomfortable at first. Discomfort does not mean harm. It means the heart is adjusting from tension to openness. This transition can feel unfamiliar. Familiarity comes with time. The heart learns through experience that sadness does not destroy it when it is accepted. Each time sadness is allowed without resistance, trust grows. The heart becomes less afraid of its own emotions. This trust reduces future suffering. Acceptance also restores clarity. When sadness is resisted, the mind spins. When sadness is allowed, the mind quiets. Quiet allows insight. Insight brings understanding without analysis. Understanding organizes pain, making it manageable. The heart does not need sadness to be explained in order to release it. It needs permission. Permission to feel without consequence. Permission to hurt without shame. This permission changes the entire inner environment. Resisted sadness teaches the heart to fear itself. Accepted sadness teaches the heart to trust itself. Trust is essential for healing. A heart that trusts itself can endure feeling without collapsing. Acceptance also shortens the duration of sadness, not by force, but by flow. What flows moves on. What is blocked stays. You may notice that when sadness is allowed, it sometimes intensifies briefly before softening. This is natural. It is the heart releasing what it was holding tightly. Intensity does not mean worsening. It often means release is underway. The heart has an innate intelligence. It knows how to regulate itself when not interfered with. Resistance interferes. Acceptance cooperates. Cooperation restores balance. There is no requirement to enjoy sadness or agree with it. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means non-resistance. Non-resistance conserves energy. Conserved energy supports healing. When the heart stops fighting sadness, it regains strength. Strength here does not mean hardness. It means resilience. A resilient heart bends without breaking. Sadness that is accepted often leaves behind clarity, humility, and depth. These are not rewards sought intentionally, but they remain as traces of the passage. Resisted sadness leaves behind fatigue and confusion. Allowing sadness does not make you weak, it makes you honest. Honesty stabilizes the heart. Stability allows rest. Rest allows renewal. If sadness is present now, you do not need to do anything with it. Simply stop pushing it away. Let it be as it is, without commentary. This simple allowance begins to lighten what felt heavy. The heart learns quickly when it is no longer under threat. Safety allows release. Release restores balance. Sadness frequently arrives when something the heart leaned on no longer supports it in the same way. This shift can be sudden or gradual, visible or quiet, but its effect is unmistakable. The heart feels unsettled because an anchor has loosened. This anchor may have been a person, a role, a routine, an expectation, or even a version of yourself you once relied upon. When that support changes, the heart responds with grief, even if no obvious loss has occurred. Attachment is natural. The heart attaches in order to belong, to find stability, to feel oriented in the world. There is nothing wrong with this inclination. Problems arise only when the heart confuses attachment with permanence. When the heart believes something will always hold it in the same way, it relaxes fully into that support. When the support shifts, the heart feels exposed. Sadness is the feeling of this exposure. Often, the heart does not realize how much it was leaning on something until it is no longer there. The loss may be subtle. A relationship changes tone. A role loses meaning. A dream no longer fits who you are becoming. A sense of certainty fades. These shifts may not look dramatic from the outside, but the heart notices immediately. Sadness emerges as the heart recalibrates. This sadness is not only about loss, it is about recognition. The heart recognizes that what it trusted was limited. This realization is painful because it challenges security, yet it is also clarifying. It reveals where reliance had been placed and whether that placement was sustainable. The heart mourns not just what is gone, but what it believed would remain. This mourning can feel confusing. You may ask yourself why you are sad when nothing bad has happened. The heart is not reacting to events alone. It is responding to meaning. Meaning shifts are often more impactful than external changes. Sadness at this stage is a form of honesty. It admits that something mattered deeply. It also admits that the heart must now reorganize itself. Reorganization feels disorienting at first. The heart searches for balance, testing new points of support. During this search, sadness acts as a signal that adjustment is underway. This moment can feel destabilizing because the heart is between attachments. It has released one reliance but has not yet settled into another. This in-between state is uncomfortable. The heart prefers certainty, even painful certainty, over uncertainty. Sadness accompanies this uncertainty as the heart learns to stand differently. Many people try to rush this process. They seek immediate replacements for what has shifted. They fill the space quickly, hoping to restore stability. While this may ease discomfort temporarily, it often delays deeper alignment. Sadness slows the heart intentionally. It prevents premature attachment. It gives the heart time to reassess what it truly needs. Not every attachment that shifts was wrong. Some attachments simply complete their role. The heart grows, circumstances change, and what once supported you no longer fits the shape of who you are becoming. Sadness acknowledges this completion. It honors the past without clinging to it. This redirection is not punishment, it is refinement. The heart is being guided away from fragile anchors toward more enduring sources of stability. This guidance is gentle but firm. Sadness is the emotional experience of this guidance. When sadness is understood this way, it becomes less threatening. It no longer feels like destruction. It feels like transition. Transition is uncomfortable because it lacks clarity, but it is also fertile. New understanding forms in these spaces. The heart learns through sadness where it placed too much weight. This learning is not meant to shame the heart. It is meant to educate it. A heart that never attaches would never grow. A heart that learns how to attach wisely becomes resilient. Sadness also invites humility. It reminds the heart that not everything it leans on is meant to carry ultimate weight. This reminder protects the heart from future collapse. It encourages a more balanced distribution of reliance. During this shift, the heart may feel vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is openness during adjustment. The heart is temporarily without firm ground. This openness allows new insight to enter. If sadness is present now, ask gently what may be shifting beneath the surface. Do not interrogate the feeling. Simply acknowledge that something is reorganizing. This acknowledgement reduces fear. Fear tightens the heart. Understanding softens it. Sadness does not rush this process because rushing would repeat the same pattern of over-attachment. The heart is being taught patience. Patience allows deeper alignment to form. This lesson teaches that sadness is not only about what is lost, but about what is being realigned. The heart is moving from what was familiar to what is fitting. This movement is rarely comfortable, but it is purposeful. Allow this sadness to exist without demanding clarity immediately. Clarity comes after adjustment, not before. Trust that the heart knows how to find new balance when given time. Sadness here is not a sign of collapse. It is evidence of transition. Transition leads to a more grounded heart, one less dependent on fragile supports and more aligned with what endures. Let this understanding settle. You do not need to force insight. Simply recognizing that sadness may signal a shift in attachment brings relief. Relief allows the heart to move forward gently. Sadness has a way of slowing everything down, even when the mind wishes it would hurry and pass. This slowing is not accidental, it is purposeful. When sadness arrives, distractions lose their pull, urgency fades, and the heart no longer races toward the next moment. Life feels quieter, heavier, and more deliberate. Many resist this slowing because they associate it with stagnation. In truth, this slowing is one of sadness's most important functions. The heart cannot see clearly when it is rushed. Speed blurs perception. When life moves quickly, the heart reacts instead of understands. Sadness interrupts this momentum. It presses a pause that the heart would not choose on its own. This pause allows awareness to gather rather than scatter. What once felt overwhelming begins to separate into what matters and what does not. Noise diminishes during sadness. Activities that once distracted the heart feel empty. Conversations lose their surface appeal. The heart withdraws not to isolate itself, but to listen more closely. This withdrawal is often misunderstood as weakness or withdrawal from life. In reality, it is a return inward for the sake of clarity. When sadness slows the heart, it becomes more selective. It no longer invests energy in what is unnecessary. This selectivity is not apathy, it is discernment. The heart begins to notice which attachments were maintained out of habit rather than meaning. It becomes aware of where energy has been leaking quietly for a long time. Clarity does not arrive with dramatic insight. It emerges gently through small realizations. A realization that something no longer aligns. A realization that a certain pursuit no longer nourishes. A realization that some expectations were inherited rather than chosen. Sadness creates the stillness in which these realizations can surface. Many people attempt to escape sadness by forcing cheerfulness or staying busy. This escape interrupts the clarity sadness offers. When cheerfulness is forced, the heart remains divided. One part pretends, while another remains unheard. This division prolongs confusion. Sadness slows the heart so it can reunite with itself. In this slowing, the heart becomes more honest. It stops exaggerating what does not matter and stops minimizing what does. Truth feels closer, even if it is uncomfortable. Sadness does not distort reality, it simplifies it. It removes excess layers and leaves the core exposed. The slowing caused by sadness also allows the heart to feel fully. When life is rushed, emotions are skimmed rather than experienced. Sadness deepens feeling so it can be completed. Incompletion creates lingering pain. Completion allows release. Clarity gained through sadness is not intellectual, it is felt. It appears as a quiet knowing rather than a conclusion. This knowing guides the heart more effectively than analysis ever could. It influences choices subtly, reshaping direction without force. Sadness also reveals what the heart has been avoiding. In busyness, avoidance is easy. In stillness, it becomes visible. This visibility is uncomfortable but valuable. What is seen can be addressed gently. What is avoided remains powerful. When sadness slows the heart, time feels different. Moments stretch. This stretching is not emptiness. It is space. Space allows the heart to breathe. Breathing restores balance. Balance restores clarity. This clarity does not demand immediate action. It often asks for patience. Acting too quickly can undo what sadness has begun to organize. The heart needs time to integrate what it has seen. Integration happens quietly, without effort. The heart that allows itself to slow through sadness becomes wiser. It learns that speed is not always progress. Sometimes slowing is the most direct path forward. This lesson stays with the heart long after sadness passes. Sadness also teaches restraint. It shows the heart that not every feeling needs expression and not every thought needs pursuit. This restraint is not suppression, it is discernment. Discernment protects clarity. Many fear that slowing down will trap them in sadness. In reality, resisting the slowing is what prolongs it. When sadness is allowed to slow the heart fully, it completes its work. Completion leads to movement again, but movement informed by clarity rather than impulse. The heart emerges from this slowing with a quieter confidence. It trusts its perceptions more. It relies less on noise and validation. This confidence is subtle but steady. Clarity gained through sadness often leads to realignment. The heart begins to choose differently, not out of reaction, but out of understanding. These choices feel lighter, even when they are difficult. Sadness does not remove joy from life. It refines the heart's relationship with it. Joy becomes less frantic and more rooted. The heart learns to appreciate what is present rather than chase what is imagined. When sadness is honored as a slowing rather than resisted as an obstacle, it becomes a teacher rather than a burden. The heart learns from it instead of fighting it. Allow sadness to slow you without judgment. Do not rush to interpret every feeling. Simply notice what remains when noise fades. What remains is often what matters most. This slowing is temporary. The heart does not remain here forever. It passes through this quiet to emerge more oriented, more grounded, and more clear. When sadness appears, the mind often rushes to solve it. It searches for reasons, explanations, and strategies to make the feeling disappear. This impulse comes from discomfort. The mind believes that if sadness is fixed quickly, balance will return. But sadness is not a problem in need of correction. It is a state in need of care. When the heart is treated like a puzzle to solve, it feels misunderstood. When it is treated with gentleness, it begins to soften. Sadness does not respond well to force. Advice given too quickly can feel dismissive, even when well-intentioned. Statements meant to uplift can accidentally invalidate what the heart is experiencing. The heart does not need to be convinced that things will improve. It needs to be allowed to feel what is present without pressure to move on. Gentleness creates safety. Safety allows emotions to settle. When the heart senses that it will not be judged, rushed, or corrected, it relaxes. Relaxation is what allows sadness to move. Movement leads to release. Solutions applied too early interrupt this process. They keep sadness unresolved, lingering beneath the surface. Many people confuse gentleness with weakness. They believe that being gentle with sadness will allow it to take over. In reality, gentleness prevents sadness from becoming overwhelming. Harshness intensifies pain. Gentleness regulates it. A heart that is treated kindly does not spiral, it stabilizes. Gentleness also changes the inner dialogue. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this?" the heart asks, "What do I need right now?" This shift reduces inner tension. The heart stops fighting itself and begins to cooperate with its own healing. Sadness often comes from places that logic cannot reach. It may arise from accumulated fatigue, unspoken disappointment, or quiet longing. No explanation will immediately dissolve these layers. They require presence, not reasoning. Presence is gentle by nature. When you sit quietly with sadness without trying to fix it, something subtle happens. The heart begins to trust itself. It realizes it can feel deeply without falling apart. This trust is strengthening. It reduces fear of future sadness. Fear is what often makes sadness feel unbearable. Gentleness also allows sadness to express itself fully. Tears may come, silence may deepen, the body may feel heavy. These are not signs of deterioration, they are signs of processing. Processing cannot be hurried. It unfolds in its own rhythm. Solutions often come after sadness has been honored, not before. When the heart has been heard, clarity returns naturally. The mind becomes quieter. Insight arises without effort. This insight is more accurate because it is grounded in understanding rather than avoidance. Treating sadness gently also preserves dignity. The heart does not feel defective, it feels human. This dignity restores self-respect. Self-respect stabilizes emotions. Stability allows sadness to pass without leaving residue. Gentleness does not mean indulging hopelessness. It means refusing to add cruelty to pain. Pain alone is manageable. Pain plus self-criticism becomes overwhelming. Removing criticism lightens the load significantly. The body responds immediately to gentleness. Breath slows, muscles release. The nervous system shifts from alarm to repair. This physiological change supports emotional healing. Solutions cannot achieve this state. Gentleness can. Many people are gentle with others but harsh with themselves. Sadness exposes this imbalance. It asks for the same compassion inward that would be offered outward. When this compassion is granted, the heart responds with relief. Gentleness also teaches patience. Sadness has a beginning, middle, and end. Rushing interrupts the natural progression. Allowing it to unfold prevents recurrence. What completes does not repeat as strongly. You do not need to understand sadness fully to be gentle with it. Understanding may come later. Gentleness can come now. Even a small softening of attitude changes the entire experience. When sadness is met with gentleness, it often transforms into something quieter. The sharp ache becomes a dull warmth. The heaviness becomes calm fatigue. These shifts indicate healing, not stagnation. Gentleness creates space. In space, the heart reorganizes itself. This reorganization is subtle and internal. It does not announce completion. It simply leaves the heart lighter than before. Remember that sadness is not asking to be solved. It is asking to be met. Meeting it with gentleness allows it to finish its work. Sadness often feels permanent while it is happening. The heart, when inside it, loses its sense of proportion. Time stretches, and the feeling seems to fill the entire inner landscape. This is why sadness can be frightening. It convinces the heart that it has arrived somewhere it may never leave. Yet sadness is not a place where the heart lives. It is a passage the heart walks through, even when it feels slow and uncertain. The heart was never designed to remain fixed in one emotional state. Like breath, it moves through expansion and contraction. Joy opens the heart outward. Sadness draws it inward. Both movements are natural. Problems arise only when the heart believes one state defines it. Sadness becomes heavy when it is mistaken for identity rather than experience. When the heart believes sadness defines who it is, it stops moving. It clings to the feeling, analyzing it, naming it, and fearing it. This clinging creates stagnation. Stagnation is what makes sadness feel endless. Movement is what allows it to pass. A passage has an entrance and an exit, even if the exit is not visible from the inside. Sadness works the same way. It has a beginning, a process, and a completion. The heart cannot force the completion, but it can trust that it exists. Trust restores motion. Motion prevents despair. Every passage reshapes the heart. Sadness widens the heart's capacity to feel others, to recognize fragility, and to understand depth. A heart that has passed through sadness often becomes more compassionate. Compassion is not learned through comfort alone. It is learned through shared vulnerability. Sadness humbles the heart. It reminds it that control is limited, certainty is fragile, and strength is not absolute. This humility is not humiliation. It is grounding. A grounded heart does not float above life. It stands within it with realism and grace. Because sadness feels heavy, many try to escape it quickly. Escape interrupts the passage. The heart turns back instead of moving forward. This creates repetition. The same sadness returns because it was never allowed to complete its journey. Completion requires presence, not avoidance. When sadness is allowed to move through, it changes the heart without destroying it. It leaves behind insight, patience, and sensitivity. These qualities remain long after the sadness has faded. They become part of the heart's wisdom. Sadness also teaches the heart impermanence. It reminds the heart that no state lasts forever, not even pain. This reminder is subtle. It is not felt while sadness is strongest, but it becomes clear in hindsight. Each passage ends, even when the heart once believed it would not. The heart that understands sadness as a passage stops rushing itself. It allows the feeling to move at its own pace. Rushing creates friction. Friction creates suffering. Allowance reduces friction and allows flow. Flow does not mean ease at every moment. Some parts of the passage feel narrow, some feel steep, but movement continues. The heart is not trapped, even when it feels confined. Sadness often marks transitions. The heart leaves behind an old understanding before a new one has fully formed. This in-between space is uncomfortable. The heart has let go but has not yet arrived. Sadness fills this space temporarily, acting as a bridge between what was and what will be. Bridges are not destinations, they are crossed. The heart does not remain on them forever. It moves forward when the crossing is complete. This perspective changes how sadness is carried. Instead of asking, "How do I get out of this?" the heart asks, "How do I move through this wisely?" Wisdom is lighter than urgency. Wisdom trusts timing. Sadness also teaches patience with the self. The heart learns that healing does not obey schedules. It unfolds according to readiness. Readiness cannot be forced. It develops through honesty, rest, and understanding. When sadness is feared, it grows. When sadness is respected, it completes. Respect does not mean indulgence. It means recognition of purpose. Purpose gives direction. Direction prevents despair. A heart that has passed through sadness often becomes less afraid of it in the future. Fear is what makes sadness unbearable. Familiarity reduces fear. The heart learns, "I have been here before, and I did not disappear." This learning is powerful. It strengthens resilience. Resilience is not toughness. It is flexibility. A flexible heart bends without breaking. Sadness increases flexibility by softening rigid expectations. Sadness also reveals what truly matters. In sadness, trivial concerns lose importance. The heart becomes selective. This selectivity remains after sadness passes. Life becomes simpler, more intentional. Because sadness refines the heart, it is often followed by clarity. Clarity does not always feel joyful, but it feels honest. Honest clarity supports meaningful action. Meaningful action restores confidence. The heart does not need to understand sadness completely to move through it. Understanding often comes later. Presence is enough now. Presence keeps the heart moving. Sadness that is honored does not linger unnecessarily. It leaves when its work is done. Its departure is often quiet. One day, the heart notices it is lighter without knowing exactly when the change occurred. This quiet departure can feel surprising. The heart may even miss the intensity. But what remains is steadiness. Steadiness is the gift of passage completed. Sadness does not cancel joy. It prepares the heart to receive joy more fully. A heart that has known sorrow recognizes joy as precious rather than guaranteed. This recognition deepens gratitude. When sadness is seen as a passage, the heart regains hope without forcing optimism. Hope emerges naturally when movement is trusted. Trust allows the heart to keep walking even when the path is unclear. You are not meant to stay here forever. You are meant to pass through. Even now, movement is happening beneath awareness. The heart is adjusting, learning, and releasing quietly. Let this understanding remain without effort. You do not need to repeat it or convince yourself of it. Simply allowing the idea that sadness is a passage changes how the heart carries it. The heart knows how to move forward when it is not being restrained by fear. Trust that this passage has an end, even if it cannot yet be seen. As these words settle, allow yourself to rest where you are without asking anything more of your heart. You do not need to understand everything you feel, and you do not need to hurry toward relief. What you are experiencing is already moving, even in stillness. Sadness does not stay when it has been listened to with patience and dignity. Trust that your heart knows how to carry you through this passage, just as it has carried you through others before. Let the weight ease in its own time. Let the breath soften without effort. And remember that you are not broken by what you feel. You are being shaped, quietly and gently, toward balance again.